Unsyndicated presents What the Puck with Sean Beligian.
Welcome into another edition of The Proven Path. Of course, we have to thank our friends with the Michigan High School Hockey Coaches Association, along with my pal, Mike Iavasile. My name is Sean Beligian. And why are we doing this? Well, we want to tell everybody about some of the great things happening all over the great state of Michigan and why high school hockey doesn't get the love that it deserves. I think one of those programs that a lot of people are excited about, I'm excited about, is one that we're going to be talking about here tonight. The head coach of Rochester United, Tucker Penning, kindly joining us here on the show this week. And first of all, Tucker, really appreciate you taking the time. I was joking with Mike. You and I think, first chatted about 3 months ago. It's been outstanding how so many coaches have reached out and said, hey, I want to do this. I want to talk about, not only my school, but certainly, or my program, as it were, but certainly the product that is high school hockey in the great state of Michigan. So I'm glad we could finally make it happen. How are you, bud?
Yeah, sure. No, doing great, guys. Hope you guys are doing well. And I have to say before we get started too, you guys have been like the soundtrack to my summer, right? Every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whatever, getting out on the lawn, right? I got a little bit bigger lawn, so it takes some time, but throw on the pod, listen to you guys. And, I can't tell you how many clips I've clipped or, sent along to perspective and current parents, families, all the rest of it, right? To, tell them about what a great product this is and how great high school hockey is. So could not be more privileged to be on with you guys and couldn't thank you enough for all the work you've done this summer.
No, it's a pleasure, and especially when we're talking about something. I think the secret is out, but we're still going to spread the word as much as we can. You just touched on it. This is a special community. This is a special place, and I'll tell you what. Watching it improve in the last 10 years alone really tells me all I need to know about where the level of play is in this great
For
state now.
sure. Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of that, and the kids are just so skilled now, right? And everything they focus on from a young age, and just that knowledge share too, from the coaches, right? I think the coaching has to be better than 10 years ago too. I mean, you're not just lining up. I remember when I'm playing on the goal line and doing circles for 15 minutes, right? You're more in the small area games, the reps, the accelerations, all the rest of it, right? To really refine the game. But I was watching my 3-year-old, loves hockey, everything about it. He throws on YouTube and he watches the same how to train hockey, whatever, flipping the puck on his stick, whatever, like a countless hour. And it's so funny now to think of that as my son being 3, right? And these high school kids have access to that all the time, right? And they have all the resources to go out and do it. And that skill level is just, it's so much different than it was 10 years ago. Couple that with, coaches talking to each other, getting a drill on IHS or the coach's site or whatever else resources we have out there, YouTube obviously too, but that alone just propels the game so far. And then getting guys to want to come play high school too. It just, the product is just incredible right now. It's so much fun to be part of.
All right, Coach, let's talk a little bit about you and your coaching background. Where have you been? What have you done? And how did you end up at Rochester United and Michigan High School Hockey?
Yeah, I think when I first started coaching, I think coaching at the high school level was kind of like my big aspiration, right? And I've been coaching now about 13 years. I've been a head coach for the last 10. I bounced around the youth program a little bit, and at Farmington Hills, kind of branded a Little Caesars halfway through there too, but coached at every level, travel house, all of it. And just kind of built my way through, found a group of kids that I really enjoyed in that 07, 08 birth year range, and kind of followed them through. And then when it was time for them to move on to high school as well, which we were big proponents of as coaches, decided I was actually going to retire and kind of step away. Little did I know, my rink in the backyard here at Onyx, my wife was looking at job postings on the Rochester Community Schools website, and she's like, "Oh, JV head coach, that's a no-brainer for you. You need to do that." And I was like, I first was kind of taken aback that she even offered that up. Shout out to the hockey wives and coaches' wives. But so I started with the JV program 2 years ago. And then about halfway through last summer, Grizz, who was the coach at the time here, decided that he was going to go take another opportunity, and just had conversations with him. He was a big advocate for, leaving the program in my hands. And, obviously the ADs felt the same. And so I was appointed late last summer, so didn't really have any time to do any summer training or programs or anything like that. So just kind of got dumped into the fire here last year, and now we're a year into it, and I love every second of it. It's awesome.
I think that begs the question: what drew you to this level? I mean, we all know this is a special level. There are a lot of different places that you could have done, a lot of different places you could have gone. What drew you to this level?
I think just the experience, like, I don't know, the game day experience in a way, like, even like playing growing up and stuff. I guess it's a little bit different when you're coaching and standing behind the bench and, leading a young group of men into battle. Right. And, I think that alone drew, but like, you go to a game now, it's like, you got the bands playing, the choirs doing the national anthem, like you got the stands packed, like everything about a game day. And, while we would all love to have more games too, having it so few and having each one mean so much, it's like that alone is just like such a big piece of it. But outside of that, just the relationships with the kids too. I mean, that's really why I do this, and the impact that you're able to have and mold on these young kids' lives. Like, I think back to my last year's plan, and I remember those coaches, and I remember good and bad and all of it, right? And still guys I'm very fond of, 13 years after playing. But having that relationship with these guys, and knowing that I'll be remembered by them, right? And trying to make every single experience count for them. And when they look back on their high school career, I want them to think about the best time they had was high school hockey. It wasn't prom, it wasn't homecoming, it wasn't the football games. As fun as those are, and as hard as it is to compete with those memories, right? I want them to think that and say that block R they wore on their sweater was the best times of their life in high school. And so we're doing everything we can for that. But yeah, I think overall, just all of that drew me, and being part of that community too is just super, super special.
Yeah, that is definitely spot on what we hear from a lot of high school coaches. Now, you said you got thrown into the fire last summer, right? But how much did it help you being part of that JV program for a little bit? How did that help you transition into the varsity job?
Oh, huge. And I think, you get a taste of it, right? And we've kind of refined our JV program even since my first year too, and now joining the MJVHL this year, and around those great programs in the Catholic schools and all the rest of it in the area, because there are so few. But just having that first look into the team, right, being a part of the guys that were called up last year and made the team, and so you had the relationships with those guys already, which helped. Unfortunately, didn't help us as much on the ice, but it was easier in that you weren't coming into a locker room totally cold. You knew some personalities, you already had some of those relationships, right? So if I didn't have that, it would have been a dumpster fire. So it was good to have those relationships up front, and I'm very thankful for those guys for making life a little bit easier on me, as well as just the opportunity that those guys gave me and how much I could learn just by watching, right?
This is the Proven Path. Of course, our guest tonight, I guess you could say this is the Rochester United edition of the show. Tucker Penning, their head coach, kindly joining us. Talk about that area. I think, hockey is big in so many different areas. And, there are some areas that people, maybe don't realize hockey's pretty big. I think your neck of the woods, people realize a heck of a lot of players coming out of that area. Can you touch on that for a second?
Yeah, and I think we get probably roped in a little bit with the MAC,
Mm-hmm.
being a northeastern OAA team, right? And we're 40 minutes to anyone, so it's we get kind of lumped into this side, but it's good hockey out here. It's tough, it's gritty, but there are some really, really good players, and unfortunately for us, we compete with those Catholic school teams and those guys, and while players decide to go that path there, but we also are competing with the tier 2 teams that just don't seem to want to die out this way at the 16U and 18U levels, which is tough for us. But I mean, again, there's just so many players, and, graduating 13 players now back-to-back years, we've been able to now fill, that roster. I think I was looking, recently, and we don't have a player in our projected group that has been part of the program for more than 2 years, maybe outside 1 or 2. And to have that much turnover, to have it be at a spot where I've seen all the guys come in, is pretty cool and special. But there are a lot of good players out here, and you can look back at like Blankenberg and those guys that were at Romeo recently that are just the rocks throw away from us too, right? Like, there are guys out here that are really good players, and we're excited to be able to showcase that by getting some of those higher level guys to come jump over to the high school ranks this year.
Yeah, I know it's obvious to say that the expectation next year is to improve upon what you guys did last year. But like you said, you're graduating 13 kids, including your top five scorers, your starting goalie. What are your expectations for some of these guys returning? You got your number six scorer, I believe, would be returning TJ. I'm not going to mess that name up there.
No,
And a
TJ McGay. Yeah.
McGay, and
Yeah.
then you got Levi Joler, a goalie that got a couple games in there. What are your
Yep.
expectations for those guys and your team next year?
I think our returners, they've really taken a step up, and a lot of them were freshmen, sophomores last year. We didn't really have any juniors outside of one or two. And, to now grow another year at the 14, 15, 16-year-old age range, it's a huge jump in anything they're doing from a physical and mental, emotional, all of it. Right. And so those guys I really am looking forward to have a huge jump. I obviously love TJ. I joke with him all the time that, he was down on third, fourth line JV in the spring, and then he was the first line varsity player in the fall, winter at times. So, anything can happen at that level. So excited to watch the growth there. I think from an outsider's perspective, though, we added 13 guys in and some really, really high level players, from outside the program. Guys that come to mind right away, Mason McCautry, going to be our captain this year. The guy just oozes maturity, oozes confidence, just a really good stay-at-home defenseman. Has some offensive flair to it, a little bit undersized, but as soon as he adjusts to this level, he's going to be so good. And then the Heiser brothers too. Grayson's going to be one of only a couple seniors we have on the team this year, and his brother Nolan, who's a sophomore. But those guys play with so much flair, so much energy. It's so much fun to watch them. And then just to our returners, right? Like we expect big seasons out of our three freshmen from last year that are be sophomores, and Ethan, Nate, and Nate. Those guys they understand the culture and they know what it brings. But adding that in with all the guys that are coming in, you'd think that it's kind of like a fractured room, but it's not. It was kind of crazy just walking into the summer. Like these guys are all friends and they just love each other. And it's kind of crazy just to think of how much that switch just flipped. And, not that the guys last year didn't, but it's just a totally different feel in the room, and one that makes our lives as coaches way easier when that's the case. And you have that family environment. So super excited about it. Obviously expectations. I think I was mentioned before, I think we're rebuilt. I don't think we're rebuilding. I know we're going to be really young. I think we got 9 sophomores, 9 juniors, and like I said, just a couple of seniors. So we got some aspirations to build, but we know at the same time we got to win some games, and that's how we're going to get put on the map. So if we keep working hard and staying on the grind, I think we're going to make some noise this year. Just a matter of how quickly we can adjust to the level, and how quick we can get our feet under us.
Nice to see some people say they love the hockey talk. Eric, thank you very much for that. We are not that far away from the season starting. I mean, really, in the blink of an eye, we're all going to be at media day again. Yeah. And certainly looking forward to that. Our guest tonight, of course, the head man at Rochester United, Tucker Penning, kindly joining us. I want to go back to something that you said a minute ago about how quickly things came together in your room and the family atmosphere. And I'll say this once, I'll say this 1,000 times. I don't want to dog on any other league, I want to talk up this. And I think that's the most beautiful thing that I see in the high school hockey ranks is the guys coming together in a locker room, playing for their school or playing for their schools, as it were. That's a dynamic that you're not getting someplace else. That's something, it's almost like, that old adage, you're playing for the front of the jersey. That means something to you. And I think that's something that you get at high school hockey at this level that you're not getting at other places, Coach.
No, definitely not. And you don't want to bag on AAA or any of the other teams, right? But it's different, right? You come to the room and, guys have been together all day at school, and, being a co-op, that brings its own unique challenges to it. I think most of our guys are from Adams, but still, like I walk in the room and the Rochester and Adams guys are best friends. So it's like, it's so cool to walk in and like, just, they're all ragging on each other and, smiles on their faces. Right. It's so much of a different environment than it was, but you don't get that anywhere else. There's just that specialty. You walk around school with the suits on game days, right? You're wearing that R around school. And again, maybe not the same logo as your school, but everyone knows you play for the hockey team, and that brings its own responsibility and its own merit. And, for these guys and for us and where we're going to get to, here in the future, whether it's this year or next, like these guys are going to have a really special time being part of that and being part of the school and having their schoolmates come on and cheer them on.
Well, you talk about having that tight locker room. That's not just the players, that's you and that's your coaching staff. Fill us in a little bit on your coaching staff. I know you brought a guy in from Farmington at the beginning when you started, a guy that I know my son played with out at Legacy, and he appreciated
Yeah.
playing with him. But tell us about those guys and what they bring to your program.
Yeah, Zach Leeds, my right hand guy. I don't even consider him an assistant coach. He's a co-coach. He does so much behind the scenes. He runs a lot of our social media stuff, which I think is decent. It's not, East GR out there, but at the same time, we do a pretty good job of it, I think. And he does a lot of that stuff behind the scenes. He's got a great mind, been around the game a while. Obviously, his dad and his brother too, now being the coach at Novi, so they've been around hockey forever. He's a great, friend to me, and one that we bounce ideas off each other all the time. And then this year we're going to bring in some other people who's not official yet, so I can't quite name them, but we got a couple guys coming in with some former high school hockey head coach experience, and other guys that have been around the program a little bit. So we're super excited about the staff. It's a close knit staff, to your point, right? It trickles down to the room, and we're excited to stand behind these guys and work together as a group this year. And we've got a lot of energy going. It's the group chat's going to be firing up here pretty quick.
Mike, I know you were unable to make it last year, but the media day out at Farmington High School, Coach, you knew I was going to bring this up. The moment of media day. I mean, no disrespect to anybody else, but the moment of media day was the utter refusal for two teams to mention the other one. The team to the north and the team to the south. It gave me some serious Ohio State, Michigan vibes, and I don't have a horse in that race. I think you see who I'm going for. But there's nothing like having a rivalry like that. Stone face, that team to the north. Yeah, that team to the south. Can you talk about that dynamic? Because like I was telling our buddy Johnny Kidd at State Champs, we got to get some cameras out there for that game and do what we have to do and find out when that game is, as long as there isn't, one of the big showcases or something going on, and really put a spotlight on that, because those are the special stories to tell at this level.
Oh, for sure. And I think I was pretty incorrect when I even said they're the school of the north, because I think they're wrong the same plane as another school in our district, but not a geography guy. That's fine. But I'll just refer to them as the other team in our district. It's actually kind of funny because Emery, the head coach over there, and I are actually pretty tight and talk quite a bit and bounce each other. And obviously our JV programs are unified too. So it's, we talk a good chunk, which is funny because of the rivalry that the kids do have. But there's nothing better than it. And, we play every year on Thanksgiving Eve, which I know there's some other big games in the state on that, but there's nothing like that environment. Everyone knows what, suburban Rochester, or the Onyx, as I still call it, is. That rink gets packed, and, there's not an empty seat. Guys are going crazy. Obviously last year we would have liked to have had a better showing in the first one on Thanksgiving Eve, and all the alumni and parents and all the rest of it comes back. But, this year I think it's going to be pretty competitive. I know they got some good returners and, guys they've brought in, and obviously we do too. So we're super excited about it. I think it's one that we have on our calendar. I've kind of broke out our season into chapters, and I kind of explained that to the guys at the beginning of summer. And that one is its own chapter, right? Like that one is a focus. It's a few games into the season, so it can't be the focus, and we got to get our feet under us first. But there's nothing like that, man. It's just that they're the guys on the ice, and I think I've seen a picture floating around from last year with a little bit of a tussle, and that is exactly what it is. It is a rock hard, gritty, tight knit game, tight checking, all of it. Every phrase in the book, right? It's all of it, and it's awesome. And you walk away from that game as a coach, and you're exhausted because you got the fans blowing everywhere, the band's going, like all that stuff is what makes high school hockey so great. And that rivalry alone is pretty cool.
Mike, if I may follow up quickly,
Yep.
one thing jumped out to me, and I hear this all the time, and I want to give you some love for this, Coach, is you mentioned Coach Emery, and certainly he's done a good job. We're talking about Stony Creek, of course, and he's bringing in guys, and they're another program that's going like this. But, here's your big rival, and you're talking about the good stuff that they're doing. And there's so much of that, I think, in the coaching, and just in the coaching community, is, guys that are longtime rivals, and they were born not to like each other, talking up the other guy and say, hey, this is great for the game, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, to me, at the end of the day, I think that's another unique thing about this level is, well, of course you want to do better than the guy across the street, but there's the tip of the cap and there's the respect at trying to build something special elsewhere.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I feel like it in a way, like I was a little bit surprised at that. Yes, last year, I guess coming in, like and not that I figured the guys would be, MFing each other and whatever. It's just, it's like there's a mutual respect amongst all of us here in the OAA and other conferences as well. But everyone is real friendly. Like I got to know Nick Batter at Lake Orion pretty well here, just talking with him a good bit, and it's all of that encompassing, right? It's just you have that mutual respect for everyone. Everyone's working hard to make their program try to, as the phrase you like to do, be one of the usual suspects, right? And trying to build towards that. And we're all on the same goal and trying to, compete and win state titles and all the rest of it. So yeah, there's definitely that. A little bit surprised of it when I came in, but couldn't be happier with my relationships with the guys and what everyone else is doing around us, because it only makes the product better.
All right, we know that Thanksgiving Eve is going to be a big game on your schedule, but let's pimp some other games out there. What are some games on your schedule this year that are going to be must watch that people got to get out to that Onyx and watch?
Yeah, I mean, we put the usuals, the Lake Orions, the Birminghams. Those are good rivalry games, right? When we do play those guys, we do have a unique one this year. Grosse Pointe South decided to put on a tournament right after the first of the year, which has, I think, 7 or 8 teams. He was saying, so that'll be a good one. There's some different flavored conferences all across the state as part of that, so a 3-game tournament in there, which we're pretty excited about. Other games, we're going to play Country Day, which that again, good Catholics or a good school team, private school team in the area, right? That we're excited to play against. And I think we're going down to Plymouth in late February too. Last game of the season. That will be a good one. Trying to, expand more to play in some of the KLA teams and that stuff. But yeah, no, we're excited. We got some good teams on the schedule, some unique ones, right? But all those rivalry games within the OAA are really the ones that we love to be part of and love coaching.
I absolutely love and Coach, I've been advocating this as long as we've been doing the show on state champs. I love that you're seeing Mike take more of an impetus and saying, yeah, let's have some kind of tournament. Let's have a showcase. And so for you to say that, I was not aware of that one that Grosse Pointe South is having one now, but to me, Tucker, that's such a no-brainer. I've always joked, this is going back 7, 8, 9 years. I don't even remember how long ago now. A former coach at Rochester United who went on to Warren De La Salle, Craig Steskowski, was arguing with a mutual friend of ours, David Mitchell at Stevenson, about which conference was better, MIHL, KLA, MIHL, KLA. And I said, shut up. Why don't you just have a showcase? And you can see the light bulbs go on. And this is, to me, yes, showcase some of the special players that maybe you don't get a chance to see ordinarily. And the buzz that comes from that, Tucker, you can't put a price tag on it because somebody, hey, did you see this kid that plays for Rochester United? Hey, did you see this kid that plays for Granville, whatever the case may be? It really seems to me like you're seeing more and more of this every year.
Oh yeah, and I wish we did more of it, to be honest. Now looking back at it a little bit, but this year we'll have that opportunity, and those showcases are awesome, right? You get all the you get scouts in attendance, you get guys from other teams, right? It brings everyone together, and it's usually game after game after game, right? So being at the rink all day, there's just a buzz about it. It's a little bit different environment, a little bit different than a Friday night where you got a couple teams coming in from out of town, right? There's a big buzz to it. I want to be part of the Trenton one there in the future. Obviously, we got to win some games and put ourselves on notice to be able to be part of that. But that just I want, and again, just wanting to be down there, right? I see the games you guys broadcast and stuff. It just looks like it's just an absolute blast. So no, there's not enough of it. I wish we did more of it, and that way too, like it aligns competitive levels too, and that piece of it, right? That way you're not guessing as much when you're scheduling at the beginning of the season, and that alone, right? It drives the product. It gives competitive games and all the rest of it. So no, there's not enough of it. I wish we did more, but that'll be for future years here, for sure.
Yeah, those events are always good, getting eyes on these kids, especially that have that pathway that want to move on. But for right now, what are some things your guys are doing, your team in the preseason? Are you in a summer league? Do you got any guys skating with MHA or at the MDHL or with Legacy? Where can we get some eyes on your guys now?
Yeah, we got one. Ethan Hasselman's playing for MHA. They're 15U black team. They're on Nashville this weekend, so that's one. Most of our guys, a lot of our guys are doing split season. We do have a fall program that's being run by outsourced coaching, but so our guys are kind of competing as part of that. They're doing some of the showcases at Fraser this fall. And then we had a couple guys try out for MDHL. I think Braden Buckler got a shout out on another competing podcast. They said he played for our school in our district, but I gave him enough crap about that. So so he's one to watch too. But yeah, no, a lot of our guys are sticking around. I know that they were skating today, so they're sticking around and trying to build and be ready for winter. I told them that as soon as October 28th or whatever first day of tryouts roll around, we got to be ready to go pedal down. So yeah, other than those guys, and I know the guys doing split season that'll have opportunities to go play for states and all the rest of it at the 18U and 16U level. They're skating plenty. We'll be ready.
All right.
I'm going to say it again. The season's going to be here before you know it.
Snap your finger.
Really, it is. I mean, to me, the last month and a half just always flies by. That's supposed to be the longest part, but that always flies by. And nice to see our friends from Michigan High School hockey in there as well in the chat right now. But Tucker, who do you guys start with? Who's game one for you guys? And tell us a little bit about the schedule. I know you mentioned the night before Thanksgiving, but obviously, who's the start?
We go to Port Huron Northern for a scrimmage, and then we open with Utica Ford at home. And then we actually go out west to play Mona Shores, which, obviously they're a really historic program. So we go out there the weekend before Thanksgiving to, try to give the guys a good bonding trip. So, excited about that. And then, we fill ourselves up throughout around some local teams. We play Ike, we play, like I said, we're also getting Canton to come here at Onyx too, which I think is going to be a good one. I know they got some good up and coming younger guys that played with some of our guys with Michigan Legacy in the spring. So that'll be a good one. And yeah, we loaded it up. Try to get different flavor, and I don't want to keep playing the same guys over and over. As good as those rivalries are, it's good to have a little bit of different flavor to it. And excited to, like I said, you got to get some wins and put yourself on notice out there. So did whatever we could to put those guys on the schedule, and I think we'll make those statements here pretty early on. I'm excited for that trip out west, and we'll see what it brings. Like I said, we got to get our feet under us, but excited about that, and what the schedule kind of holds here.
That's great. Now, what a theme that I've seen with a lot of the coaches that we've had on is that they've got their finger on the pulse of the association that their kids are coming from. If you do, what does the future of Rochester United hockey look like? Are there some kids coming up? And here's your sales time right now to tell them why they should be playing high school hockey for you.
Oh, it's the best. There's nothing like it. It's mini college hockey, right? We're getting the bands to come out this year to our home games. Like I said, the choirs are singing the national anthem. You kind of get the chills, the goosebumps, all of it. We're trying to get more involved with the Rochester Hockey Club out here. We got some kids coming down the pipeline for sure. I know there's a couple of 8th grade and current freshmen that we got our eyes on here for some future years. But we're so young at our level right now. Like we're gonna sell ourselves, and I think as we get into the season, that's gonna be really apparent. We got another good goalie coming in too. That's really gonna help cement it and give us a good, back end between the pipes. And like I said, I think we have 6 or 7 junior defensemen and a lot of sophomore forwards. So we're so young that we're gonna make a name for ourselves as we go. But back to your question, more so about just the youth program and all that. Like we do the try hockey for free stuff. I want to do more of it. We're going to do youth skater, the game, team games, all that stuff. But you're only as good as how deep you pull that pipeline. And I started a middle school skate a couple years ago when I was a JV coach, and we went from having 13 kids at tryouts for my first year at JV to having 40 the next spring. Right. And just having that reach and educating people too. I think that was the big thing that surprised me too, is just the lack of education that some of the families in our area had about high school hockey and what it actually was and all that. So we put together, and one of the moms on our team is an incredible graphic designer, and put together an awesome deck for us that we're able to use as marketing too. So, in terms of a sales pitch, we're going to make a name for ourselves. I told our guys at the beginning of the summer, our goal is to get back to Plymouth. Don't know if that's going to be this year or not. I think all it takes is one special run to make a name for that. But, in the future, that's our goal. And that's what we have to sell ourselves on and to become one of those usual suspects. And I'm really confident we're going to do it. I think we're doing the right things at the younger levels. We got a good pipeline coming in, and our guys are gonna prove it, and they're gonna push that standard forward from what it was to what it's going to be.
I love hearing that. Now, I'll tell you what, your ears must have been burning. I was just having a conversation via text with Coach Benedict at Mona Shores. So that's one that I'm going to
Yeah.
keep an eye on. He's done, fine work with the Sailors. I love to hear you talk about that, Tucker, because I say it all the time. And again, I'm not taking any shots at anybody. For the life of me, I don't understand it, why a kid won't play in front of his own schoolmates, play with his classmates. Why go someplace else and be a third liner or a fourth liner
Right.
when you can stay at home and get line one, worse line 2 minutes at PP1, PK1. I don't get it. And so that's one of the things that we try to talk about here, Mike. And Coach, I'll throw it at you as well, as the why high school hockey. I mean, there are so many different reasons, and to be a part of something special. It's interesting to hear you use the term usual suspects. Patient zero for usual suspects is Heartland. I mean, they really are. I mean, way back when, it was so cute. They made a little run to the finals, and wow, isn't that great what Coach Gadwa has done? And now they've become a juggernaut, and Coach Gadwa was one of the leaders in state. It can be done, and certainly you guys are working towards that.
Oh, for sure. And I tell our guys too, like, you guys can be the ones to do that, what Heartland did a few years ago, right? Or however long it was. And you guys can cement yourselves as being the group that changed the mold and pushed the standard forward. And I think for us, that's the exciting part is, we're probably not on a lot of people's radars just because of how we did last year, but it's going to be very quick where we do start to push that. And I mean, to your point about guys, sticking around in other places, and yeah, there's ones that are still getting at me a little bit right now, even. But there's nothing like high school hockey, man, and you guys know that, and are able to articulate that way better than me, probably. What we do at our side, we're going to keep pushing to display that product and get guys in, and all the rest of it. But yeah, you guys know how special it is, and there's you hear guys even we had a guy jump from the AAA ranks mid-year last year, and he came to me after, and he's like, "This is the most fun season I had. We won 4 games." And just to hear him say that coming from the AAA ranks and all that, right? Like, that's stuff that we want to post more on. I had our starting goalie last year, who, God bless his soul, faced about 60, 65 shots a game last year and held his own. Didn't play for 2 years, and he started playing high school again. And then he was working with me this summer with the guys, like, just being part of it. And he even said recently, he's like, "Hey, man, I wish I would not have stopped playing. I wish I would have done it more." And it's like, those stories, just, you hear it all the time, right? I think you mentioned it almost every episode. It's just the guys, once they play it, they know how much it is and they want to do it more. And you can't get the time back, unfortunately. And that's what I try to tell guys all the time, is this is only 4 years of your life and that experience, right? But we want to make it memorable for you. And if you do the right things and come in and be the group to change the standard, you're gonna do that.
Yeah, and I think we always say the epicenter of high school hockey is USA Arena for the Final Four. And if you ever want to sell a kid on it, you get them there. Whether it's Heartland, Brighton, CC, Byron Center, those West Coast teams coming out here, EGR that travels so well, get them down there and see that game. But feeding off of that, we've given some softballs. We said we were going to lob them up there for you. This is always the toughest question that I have. And if you said you've been listening while you're mowing the lawn, you know what's coming here. Is there anything that you would change about high school hockey to improve the product or get more eyes on our players?
I think the one that I've kind of come around on the most is almost making it like NCAA 1-40, and then just seed them accordingly, right? I think that while great games in some of these regional finals that you have it in Plymouth, right? Like, you're still going to see the game. If those teams are that good, you're going to see them. I love the underdog stories. Don't get me wrong. I think, I hope our team is like that. But at the same time, you want the best product at USA Arena, right? You don't want blowouts. You don't want, pretty lopsided games. You want really good hockey games, and really good to be able to show that product, right? Pack the stands, get it, as much as I love watching the Brighton and CC games, because those back in the day, those were everything, right? And that kind of game, that kind of environment, and to have, just have the region set up, like, let guys travel. I think everyone in the UP would travel. I think everyone downstate would travel to an extent too. So find a spot in the middle to play the game. I mean, do what we got to do to, get the proper seeds in, and then hopefully, you can still have those Cinderella underdog runs. There's no reason why you can't, but at least that way you get maybe a little bit better games at Plymouth year in and year out, a little more consistency.
Oh, do I love you are singing to me right now, Tucker. About 10 years ago, when Hancock, it was 2016, Hancock won the title, and it was interesting. Their coach, Dan Rolu, just a great guy, like literally made a point. He and I were talking about it in the press conference, and he said, when I always hear people say, well, that's not fair to this school, or it's not fair. He said, where do you want me to go? I'll go. Our community will find a way. And I think most athletes and just about every coach out there has that same standpoint. So I love to hear you say that. Hey, do you need us? Do you need RU to go out to Mona Shores and go play against Benny again? Sure. If that's what we
anytime, anywhere, right? Yeah.
Yeah. That's and to me, I love what you said. The Cinderella stories are magical, but the best Cinderella stories, in my humble opinion, these are my comments and nobody else's, are the ones that happen organically, not the one where there was a fortuitous path to get there. That, hey, listen, people are talking about RU because look who they beat to get to where they are. That's when it's a real true story and a real true Cinderella.
Oh yeah, that's the best part of it. And I think, yeah, to your point, right? We don't want all the best teams clogged in the same region like that. It's just it kills off everything, right? And while again those games are great, it's just it happened too early. Later in March is going to be the best time where more eyes are on it. You get all the local papers, media, you guys, everyone's eyes are on it way more.
Great stuff. Mike, anything else for Tucker Penning, again, the head coach at RU?
No, I think we covered it. We got that program. We got the conference. We got everybody out there. The word is out, and we're going to be watching for you guys.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. And you guys let me know. I haven't heard anything about Media Day yet. Tucker, if you get wind of that,
I owe you a text because I think I'm the one that's heading it up. So we'll chat.
Okay, all right. Well,
I think it transferred over to me, so we'll chat on that. But no, I couldn't thank you guys enough again for everything that you guys have done this summer, growing the game, and continuing to do so leading up to the season and in season too. It's awesome. It gets the gears going listening to you guys and just love every second of it. So again, couldn't be more thankful to be here with you guys and just talking some puck here on a nice September night.
No, it's fantastic, and I'll tell you what, the media days are fun. I'm going to drag you with me to when we do that with the OAA. I know our mutual friend Petey and Johnny Kidd and the cameras are out there. It's a fantastic time, and a conference as a whole. I guess that's the last thing, Coach. We talked about you. We talked about Stony Creek. The conference as a whole, I think there's some excitement, and you're building something in this conference as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you got to look at Clarkson M1, some of the guys that are returning for that. And, Clarkson seems to reload every year right now. So it's that Michigan, Ohio State type brand for them and being that team that, you strive to be like, right? So, no, conference is great. And even the guys, rounding out with us this year in Bloomfield and Farmington, like those programs are building, right? And it's just that keep getting that product better. And no, we're excited to be part of it. Happy to. And, just excited for game one here. It's coming quick, man. I'm juiced.
Can't wait. Tucker Penning, again, head coach at Rochester United. Coach, really appreciate the time. Best of luck. Can't wait to see the boys in action. Some sweet unis. I got to throw that in there as well. Thanks for your time and for joining us here tonight.
Appreciate it, fellas. We'll talk soon.
All right. Tucker Penning kindly joining us. All right. Before we get out of here.
Yes, sir.
I promised that I was going to bring this up.
Okay.
You ready to blush?
Oh, boy.
Congratulations. Sebastiano Iavasile. Played at CC the last 3 years, won 3 championships with Catholic Central, was fortunate enough to be selected and make the Lindsay Muskies. And as a matter of fact, the opener is coming up Friday
night
against Leamington Flyers. I have some friends with the Leamington Flyers, and Sebastiano's going to be in the lineup.
He broke into the lineup. It's very exciting. He knew he was going to find out today after practice, and he shot me a text on his way home, and he is playing, and mom and dad couldn't be prouder. And Flow TV in Michigan is going to probably have some pretty high ratings because there's a lot of family members that are going to be watching this game.
Well, which one is it? Hold on. Let me see if I get the right one. There's that one. We can use that. Hold on. Can we use that?
Guy on Twitter.
Yeah, we really do need Frankie McDonald, don't we? No, that's it. Hey, and I'll tell you this, all jokes aside, I've seen it with my own two eyes. Sebastiano has worked his tail off even before he was a member of the Shamrocks. I remember the COVID summer we were having a barbecue here, and he had just got done working out with the Russian Bear, and he's like, "Mr. Beligian, can I have some food?" I said, "Son, eat as much as you want, when you're working out like that." So now congratulations, Dad.
Thank you.
I know that changed your plans for the weekend, to be sure.
Absolutely.
But you're not complaining too much. A little drive to Lindsay, that's never going to hurt anybody.
I am not complaining at all. I was really kind of hoping for it. We knew it would be one of the games coming up, and I think it's just special that his first opening night, he's going to be in that lineup and put that jersey on for the first time, and it should be a pretty good crowd.
Show everybody your hat. Show everybody your hat. Look at that hat. That's a sweet logo as well. And that's part of the reason why we do this, because folks, honestly, I've seen so many guys move on from all over the state and move on to various levels, whether it be the OJ, whether it be the Null. I've watched it with my own two eyes. I did some of their broadcasts, the guys that played in the USHL, and I've seen a lot of high schoolers back in the day when I was doing some Michigan State broadcasts as well. It's a fantastic place to be. We appreciate you being here. So for Coach Penning, we appreciate his time. Todd and Blake behind the scenes, thank you most importantly for joining us, and we'll talk to you next week right here on The Proven Path with What the Puck.
What the Puck, featuring Sean Beligian. Produced by Todd Losey and Blake Matrazek. Executive produced by Sean Beligian and Todd Losey. Theme song and incidental music by Elliot Middleton. Engineering, mixing, and graphic design support provided by the Unsyndicated Podcast team. Don't forget to like and subscribe to What the Puck on all your favorite channels. While you're there, be sure to rate and review the podcast. Got something to say to Sean? Call the Unsyndicated hotline at 248-237-3257.